So get those phones up. I'll do like half of all of these. Remember, you're only looking at the first term on these. You don't really care about the rest of it. You're looking at your degree. Your degree tells you your max number of x-intercepts. Take 1 off of that. So degree minus 1 is the max number of turns. And remember, if it's an odd degree, that means your ends are doing opposite things. So 1 up, 1 down. Look at the leading coefficient. If it's positive, that means you got a positive slant. If it's negative, you got a negative slant. So this one's negative. That means we've got the left end is up and the right end is down. Okay, over here you've got 6, that would be a 5, but since it's even, that means both ends are doing the same thing. They're either both up or they're both down. Look out front, it's positive, so both ends are going up. This thing is smiling. So we got up and up. Okay. Now, next thing you're going to do is evaluate functions. This is just plugging it in. Just to keep it simple, make sure that you're maintaining good form. Use parentheses when you plug in. So that's going to be -8 minus 1 is -9. Where we're going to have trouble is over here on this difference quotient. So the difference quotient is probably going to be the part that gives everybody trouble. So f of x equals, we've got x plus h minus f of x all over h. And we're doing this for 4 minus 1. Alright? So remember how I told you to block this off. You're going to have the first part minus the second part. Now the second part is exactly what your function is, 4x minus 1. Now the first part, you will come in here and wherever the x is, you're going to put x plus h. Go through, distribute 4x plus 4h minus 1, and then distribute your negative. And you're going to end up cleaning that up. Remember, everything from the back end should cancel. And that leaves you 4h over h. These simplify. Leaves you with a 4. Okay? Remember, don't leave anything blank. You get partial credit for all the work you show me. The only thing, be careful on this one. I'm purposely going to give you one that has a negative. If you don't use parentheses on this problem, it will blow up in your face and you will miss it because this part right there will be off. You've got to remember a negative number squared is going to be a positive number. So if you don't use parentheses, you'll end up with a 6 there instead of a 14. Okay? Let's see here. Next part, you're going to have to evaluate a piecewise function. Remember, this is based on your conditions. So you've got to figure out, is 4 greater than 0 or is 4 less than 0? 4 is greater than 0, so that means use the bottom one. So you're going to say, okay, I'm going to take it and I'm going to put him in x squared. And then go through and work the dude out. Okay, for the next one, negative 2. Negative 2 is less than 0, so you've used the top one. Okay, wherever x is, you got to plug him in. Alright, so go back in there and put the negative 2 in there and work him out like you did on the other problems. And then for 0, which one is actually equal to 0? Well, again, that's the top. So you go through and use the top one once again. Okay? But it's all about the conditions. Make sure you look at the conditions. Graphing the functions. Now, I did add the blanks whenever you get to your test. So you'll have a blank for vertex, you'll have a blank for A, you'll have a blank for parent function. Okay? So like on this second guy, it'll have, what's your vertex? You'll need to tell me that's 3, 1. Then it's going to say, what is A? Well, I'll need to know that that's -2. And then I'm going to want to know, what's your parent function? Well, your parent function on this is x squared. Then I'm going to want you to be able to graph it. So come over here to 3, 1, put yourself a dot, and use your A down 2 over 1, down 2 over 1, because remember you've got to fit the shape of x squared. There you go. So the rest of those should work the same way. The other way of asking you the question was, here's the words, put them all together. Let's do the one in the middle again. Okay, you got a function. We want to, you can just do it this way. leave a space here for the a value. You know there's going to be x. There could be something here, and there could be something here. Okay? So reflected over the x-axis, that means I got a negative. Vertical stretch by a factor of 3, that puts a 3 out there. Ooh, I didn't do the shifted 3 units down. He's off the back end. So there's nothing in here. We didn't go left or right. So you don't put anything in here. So technically it's just this. You didn't really have to clean him up, but that's all I need. If I see that, we're good. Now I will put graphs on your actual test. So, but just if you happen to have one that looks like this. All right. First of all, you're going to have the blanks about, okay, where's the vertex, what's the A, what's the parent graph. So the vertex for this one is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and up 3. All right. The A value from dot to dot, that was A of 1, and then your parent graph is, hopefully, recognize him as square root of x. If you put him all together, the function here is going to be the square root of x minus 5, and then you're going to have a plus 3 on the end, and since a is 1, it doesn't really change anything when you put a 1 out there. Okay, but I'll have your pictures drawn for you. Now, this seemed to rock some of your world whenever we went through it, so make sure that you're paying attention. This one is just saying add your two functions, so 5x minus 1 plus x squared minus 3x. Now, you're having to get the functions, whatever I tell you in the instructions now. So it'll be totally different functions come test time. So you have to look at it and see. That's all this thing says, is add them together. Put your like terms together. 2x minus 1, typically descending order is best. Be careful on subtraction. If you do subtraction, order is important, so start with the f function, and then you're going to have a big minus, and then you've got to tell me the g function. But make sure you put it in parentheses, because if you don't, you're going to throw off your signs, because that means you got to distribute your negative, and that's going to totally throw some things off, because now, when I put those together, I got 8x minus 1. All right, when we do this one and they're squashed, that means we're multiplying. So I've got 5x minus 1 times x squared minus 3x. So that's boiling it out. So 5x times x squared is 5x cubed. 5x times 3x is a negative 15x squared. Then come down and distribute that negative x squared. And there we go with a positive 3x. Put your like terms together. 5x cubed, negative 16x squared, and a positive 3x. Okay, whenever you're doing the division one, just make sure that you know which one's on top, which one's on bottom. This says f is on top, so write him down as on top. Write the g down as on bottom. There is nothing you can do to reduce, because if you factored and reduced, it doesn't help you at all. So just leave him like that and you're good. All right, now we're going to composites. And remember, you're going to do composites a little bit later in the test. But this right here means the exact same thing as that. So F is eating G. So if F is the one doing the eating, you start writing him down, and the X part turns into the belly, remember? Okay, and you're going to stick the G function in his belly. So there he goes. Now do your algebra. Distribute him out. 15x minus 1, there's nothing to reduce, you're done. Okay, same thing over here. We're going to start with the g function. So g function's on the outside. If we start with him, wherever x is, you're going to put parentheses. It just happens to be two different places. And in those places, you put your f function. And then you work it out. Now, because I'm scrunched for time, I'm going to do square double square. So if I square the first one, that's 25x squared. And if I double, that's negative 10x. And if I square the last, it's plus 1. And then distribute the latter part. And I get negative 15 plus 3. Put my like terms together, 25x squared minus 25x plus 4. Okay, so always get your like terms together if you can in the end. Okay. Let's see here. You've got two things with inverses. Remember, if it says verify, that means it's gonna work. You just have to prove it. So you have to do two things for me. You have to do f of g of x, and you have to do g of f of x. And they both have to come out to equal x. You just have to show it. So f needs to eat g. All right, so stick him in there. And when you do that, the 3's cancel, and then the 2's cancel, and you get x. So that worked beautifully. Now come over here and prove it on this one. Start with the g function and stick the f function in there. Well, you don't really need those parentheses. So those 2's cancel, and that leaves 3x over 3. Now the 3's cancel, and you've got x. Exactly what you wanted. Again, worked beautifully. So you're done. Now you got to find the inverse. Again, time crunch, so I'm just going to do one of them. Probably the weirdest one is number 2. Your steps are always the same. Put y in there. Now swap the x and y. So y you write as x, x you write as y. Do not move the powers, don't move anything else, just move the letters. Now solve for your new y. So the 4 goes to the other side. You're going to divide through by 2. And then you've got to do the opposite of that power, which is the root that matches that power. Now, you're copying right here. See, that's the exact same thing. But you're going to change the notation on the right side. You have to tell me that's the inverse. So make sure that you're writing inverse notation. I've got to see inverse notation, okay? All right, the last thing that's going to be on there is going to be you matching your functions. So this one right here is either ln of x or log of x, whichever way I noted it. This one is good old x. This is your step function or greatest integer function. This is e to the x. This one is, well, there's supposed to be like the x-axis in there, so this is c. This is 1 over x. He hits at 0, so that's a good old sine. This one starts at 0, so there's your good old square root of x. And then here's x squared. He hits at the amplitude, so this is cosine of x. Then we got x cubed, and here's absolute value of x. Okay, hope y'all are ready for your test. Do a good job. Don't rush through it. Do not leave anything blank. Make sure you put your phones up before your test. You're welcome to get your phones out after the test. Okay?